John Lee sworn in as the city's new leader. President Xi Jinping sets out his wishes for the Hong Kong SAR. And the number 8 southeast gale or storm signal now in force.
Good evening and welcome. It is the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to China.
A number of events were held to mark the occasion. At 8 o'clock this morning, a flag-raising ceremony took place at the Golden Bauhinia Square in Wan Chai. President Xi Jinping, after spending the night in the mainland, came back to the city again by high-speed rail. He attended a meeting at the Convention and Exhibition Center celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Hong Kong SAR and officiated the inaugural ceremony of the 6th-term government. In his speech delivered at the ceremony, Xi expressed his wishes for the city, adding that there is no reason to change the one country, two systems principle. Caleb Leung begins our coverage.
During today's meeting celebrating the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to China, President Xi Jinping delivered a speech addressing several issues concerning the future of the SAR. The president said the next 5 years will be crucial for Hong Kong to break new ground. He set out 4 wishes for the special administrative region, noting that it is of pressing importance for the city to improve its governance. The state leader also asked the city to keep strengthening the development momentum.
中央全力支持香港积极稳妥推进改革。
The central authorities also fully support Hong Kong in advancing reforms in an active and prudent manner, breaking the impediments of vested interests.
Xi also said the 6th-term government needs to solve livelihood issues, including Hong Kong people's housing needs.
香港最大的民心。
At present, what the people of Hong Kong desire the most are a better life, a bigger apartment, more business startup opportunities, better education for kids, and better elderly care. What the people call for, we must strive to deliver.
Xi said Hong Kong cannot afford any chaos, noting the need to help young people in Hong Kong.
青年发展则香港发展。
When young people thrive, Hong Kong thrives. When young people grow, Hong Kong grows. When there is a future for young people, there is a future for Hong Kong. We should help the young gain a keen appreciation of the underlying trend in both our country and the world, and heighten their sense of national pride and ownership.
As for the one country, two systems principle, Xi said it has been tested and proved time and again to be beneficial to the fundamental interests of the country and the Hong Kong and Macau SARs, and there is no reason to change such a good system. The president also reiterated the importance of patriots administering Hong Kong. He added that with the strong support of the motherland and the thorough implementation of one country, two systems, Hong Kong will certainly achieve even greater accomplishments. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
The 6th-term SAR government was sworn in this morning at the inaugural ceremony presided over by President Xi Jinping.
As Hong Kong's first police officer turned chief executive, the city's new leader, John Lee, set sights on improving people's livelihood while praising the one country, two systems principle. Jackie Lin with more.
President Xi Jinping came to Hong Kong from Shenzhen again this morning to officiate the inauguration of John Lee's administration. As the SAR marks the 25th anniversary of its return to China, Lee, formerly Secretary for Security and then Chief Secretary for Administration, was installed as the city's new leader. He won 99% of the 1,500-member election committee support in an uncontested race for the top job in May.
I, John Lee Ka-chiu, swear that in the office of Chief Executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China, I will uphold the basic law.
He also vowed to serve the Hong Kong SAR conscientiously, dutifully, in full accordance with the law, honestly, and with integrity. Also sworn in today were principal officials,
我谨此宣誓
led by Chief Secretary of Administration Eric Chan, who just recovered from COVID. Under the pandemic, the new officials bowed to the state leader instead of shaking his hands like previous occasions.
我见福起
In his inauguration speech, Zhang Li thanked Beijing for its support while underscoring the great honor and responsibility he's shouldering to create an inclusive city of hope, opportunities, and vitality. The new chief executive also hails one country, two systems as the best institutional guarantee for Hong Kong. Li's rise to the city's top job marks a first for a former police officer, one who had taken a pivotal role as the city security chief in handling the city's anti-government protests back in 2019. For that, he's also among a number of Hong Kong officials under Western sanctions. Journalists who haven't undergone the closed-loop arrangement or hotel quarantine like me could only report from outside the venue. And even here, which is hundreds of meters away from the locations of the ceremony, security has been tight, especially when the president's motorcade came out and went into the area. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Well, this morning's flag-raising ceremony was held under the influence of a tropical storm in the region.
Top government officials and other dignitaries attended the event, but President Xi Jinping was not there as he had spent the night in Shenzhen. Sharon Tang reports.
The flag-raising ceremony opened with the police band marching into Golden Bauhinia Square in Wan Chai. Escorting the flag party was the Guard of Honor comprised of members of the disciplined forces. They marched in using Chinese-style foot drills. Among those attending the ceremony were the city's new leader, John Lee, Carrie Lam, who just stepped down as chief executive, Leung Chun-ying, vice chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, Luo Hui-ni, director of the Central Government's Liaison Office, and principal officials of the sixth-term SAR government. The national flag and the SAR flag were raised despite strong winds under Typhoon Signal number 3. Government flying service helicopters and fire services department vessels also took part in the event. This year, guests invited to the flag-raising ceremony must be quarantined at a designated hotel under a closed-loop arrangement. Due to the pandemic, there was no public viewing area in the square. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
After swearing in the sixth-term Hong Kong SAR government, President Xi Jinping made a visit to the People's Liberation Army garrison before returning to the mainland this afternoon.
In celebrating the 25th anniversary of the handover, members of the public have been using various facilities from the Leisure and Cultural Services Department for free today. Some public transport companies also offered free rides. Timothy Lee has more.
At noon, President Xi visited one more location in Central before leaving the territory. The People's Liberation Army garrison is one of the places visited by President Xi Jinping today. As you can see, the area is heavily guarded with large numbers of police officers and security personnel on patrol. Staying on the premises for nearly 30 minutes, the president left at 12:30 this afternoon. He then boarded a high-speed train at West Kowloon Station before heading back to the mainland. Meanwhile, the approaching typhoon could not halt crowds of visitors from entering the city's museums on a July 1st special offer. This morning, almost 50 people lined up at the Science Museum. One of them said she was ecstatic about the 25th anniversary and the arrival of President Xi. It's similar at the Space Museum. This woman said she came to enjoy the atmosphere and that it's a good opportunity for her son to learn more. To celebrate the 25th anniversary of the establishment of the SAR, the permanent exhibitions of the Science Museum and Space Museum, along with 13 other LCSD museums, have offered free admissions. Badminton, tennis, and basketball courts under the LCSD are free for use for those who registered earlier. On public transport, insurance groups in the city have also sponsored free tram rides on the day of the anniversary. 2 Star Ferry routes from Tsim Sha Tsui to Central and Wan Chai respectively, as well as the Kowloon motor bus service between Chuk Yun Estate and Tsim Sha Tsui Ferry Pier also provided free rides. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Hong Kong Observatory issued the number 8 southeast gale or storm signal at 7:10 p.m., saying it will remain in force before 5 a.m. The weather forecaster said severe tropical storm Chaba is expected to move northwest to the coast of western Guangdong. The rain band associated with Chaba will continue to bring heavy showers and violent gusts to the coast of Guangdong over the next couple of days.
According to the present forecast track, Chaba will be closest to Hong Kong tonight and tomorrow morning, skirting at about 300 kilometers to the southwest of the territory. Chiba is expected to further intensify, and its associated gale will edge closer to the Pearl River estuary later today. Local winds will strengthen further.
Well, Hong Kong reported 2,318 new COVID infections today, including 153 imported cases.
With the growing number of Omicron subvariant cases, health authorities said it is possible that the new variants will become more dominant in the city. Christy Khan reports.
The city's daily COVID infection tally exceeded 2,000 for the third day in a row. Health officials reported that there is a cluster emerging from a hotspot restaurant in Kwun Tong. The number of infections linked to the eatery has risen to 11 after 7 more people who had been there caught COVID. 5 positive cases were reported across 4 residential care homes involving both carers and residents. All close contacts of the patients were sent to quarantine. Furthermore, health officials today said there were 31 more suspected BA.2.12.1 cases and a further 36 suspected BA.4 or BA.5 infections. So far, the accumulated local caseload of BA.4 or BA.5 has reached 63, mostly involving BA.5. Asked whether the new Omicron subvariants will become the prevailing strains in Hong Kong, health officials had this response.
There's a chance that these subvariants will start to take up a greater proportion of all the cases. Based on information from the World Health Organization, these subvariants may be more transmissible than the BA.1 or BA.2 subvariants. These subvariants may become more dominant.
There was also 1 COVID-related death today, bringing the death toll during the 5th wave to 9,189. Christy Khan, TVB News.
Still ahead on tonight's news, NATO's Secretary General vows to protect every inch of the Defense Alliance's territory. And police arrest a man on suspicion of murdering a 23-year-old woman in a West Kowloon hotel.
Welcome back to TVB News. In Ukraine, reports of another deadly Russian missile strike on a Ukrainian residential area.
This time, 9 people are confirmed dead, 19 that is, near Ukraine's southern port city of Odessa. Yesterday, Russian forces withdrew from the strategic Black Sea outpost of Snake Island. The island sits along a busy shipping lane. The move was expected to potentially ease the threat to nearby Odessa. At a Nato summit in Madrid, Britain's prime minister said the withdrawal is a sign that Ukraine will prevail in the war.
Where again, Russia has had to cede ground. In the end, it will prove impossible for Putin to hold down a country that will not accept his rule.
The UK is among several NATO members who've agreed to increase defense spending by the end of the decade. Britain is the second largest contributor of military support to Ukraine after the United States. In Salisbury, England, Army personnel are teaching Ukrainian soldiers how to fire weapons and long-range rockets. Hundreds of Ukrainian troops have been trained in the past few weeks, and thousands more will receive coaching.
Yeah, we definitely see a high degree of motivation and dedication to the defense of Ukraine in these guys. They are committed to the training. They don't take many breaks.
Celebrate this historic milestone.
Days after the country was granted EU candidate status, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen today assured the Ukrainian parliament the European Union will stand by its side through the process. It is expected to take at least several years before Ukraine can officially become an EU member state. A three-day Nato summit in Madrid has ended with the alliance labeling Russia a direct threat to the security of its member states.
Meanwhile, Turkey warned that it could still block the accession of Finland and Sweden to NATO, despite having agreed to a deal to allow the Nordic nations to join the defense bloc earlier this week. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine proved to be the focus of NATO's three-day summit in the Spanish capital, Madrid, which concluded on Thursday. In his closing remarks, NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg stated that the alliance and its allies are prepared to protect every inch of NATO territory and fully back Ukraine in its battle against Russia. He also said the summit featured several transformative decisions, including the outlining of top NATO security priorities for the next decades. Still, Stoltenberg warned of the potential implications from the eruption of a full-scale war between Russia and NATO.
At the same time, we also know that this can get worse. Because if this becomes a full-scale war between Russia and NATO, then we'll see suffering, damage, death, destruction at a scale which is much, much worse than what we see in Ukraine today.
Speaking at the end of the summit, U.S. President Joe Biden said his administration will provide another $800 million in security assistance for Ukraine. Biden said this would include advanced air defense systems and additional ammunition for high-mobility artillery rocket systems that the White House has already sent to Ukraine. He also reaffirmed Washington's commitment to defending NATO member states, emphasizing the soon-to-be increased U.S. military presence in Europe.
For our part, the United States is doing exactly what I said we would do if Putin invaded. Enhance our force posture in Europe. We'll station more ships in here in Spain. We're stationing more air defense in Italy and Germany, more F-35s in the United Kingdom, and to strengthen our eastern flank, new permanent headquarters for the Army 5th Corps in Poland.
Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said all of Ankara's sensitivities had been included in the 10-article joint memorandum on Sweden and Finland's NATO membership that was signed on Tuesday. The agreement removed Turkey's objection to the Nordic nations joining the alliance. However, Erdogan warned that should Sweden and Finland go back on their pledges, Turkey could still block their accession to NATO by not ratifying it in the Turkish parliament. Among the promises Ankara highlighted as vital was a Swedish commitment to extradite 73 alleged terrorists to Turkey. Daniel Rao, TVB News.
Back in Hong Kong, police have arrested a man on suspicion of murdering a 23-year-old woman. The man is believed to have surrendered himself to the force yesterday. Officers said the woman was certified dead after being found in a bathtub at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in West Kowloon with multiple suspected stab wounds. A knife was found in the bathtub. The force said preliminary investigation results show there were signs of fighting and blood in the hotel room. Police believe the fatal injuries included 8 suspected stab wounds on the left side of the woman's chest and a cut to her throat. That's the news, and tonight is James Last Night anchoring for us.
Thank you, and thanks and goodbye to all the viewers out there. I hope we were able to bring some more clarity to you. Good night.
Good night.